When we talk about what is considered abuse, often we discuss either physical, sexual, or emotional abuse, which in most cases aren't difficult to recognize. If someone hits you, or sexually assaults you, or insults your appearance, or yells at you, you most likely will admit that something is clearly off. But sometimes abuse is way too sophisticated for you to realize that you're being cornered, and it might take you months, possibly even years, to see that in fact you fell for a psychological manipulation. Gaslighting is a covert type of emotional abuse when it's not that clear you're dealing with an abuser whose goal is to make you doubt yourself and your sense of reality. Typical gaslighter phrases would be, I didn't say that, or you're confusing something, or it's just a joke, or you're too sensitive. If you often hear this video is for you. Welcome to Universe Soul, a channel about psychology and complex human nature. I'm very happy to see you here. My name is Karina. I'm a holistic psychotherapist and intuitive empath, meaning I connect deeply with others and I sense people's emotions and energies. So let's discuss what is gaslighting, its signs and tactics, why it can be dangerous for you, and most importantly, how can you cut this out of your life? Gaslighting can take on many different forms, and most importantly, it's much more common than most people realize. Gaslighting is a situation in which the manipulator denies what happened, tries to make you doubt your own memories, and change your perception of reality. The abuser systematically discounts your words, your experiences, your actions, your feelings, your dreams, and your goals. It can be found not only in romantic relationships, but in your family. Your parents or siblings might gaslight you, or at work, or among your friends. Most likely you are being gaslighted by someone if you think you are doing everything wrong, you push your desires into the background, you feel anxious and stressed, you always blame yourself if something goes wrong, you find it difficult to make even simple decisions, you are being told you are excessively sensitive or dramatic, you are being called crazy or unstable, you no longer enjoy your favorite activities, you think that you used to be more confident and cheerful, but for some unclear reason, you don't feel like this anymore. You often apologize to your partner or your parents, colleagues, and you seriously doubt your feelings and your reality. You feel helpless, insecure, and lonely. Gaslighting is a methodical brainwashing. After some time, you find yourself emotionally dependent on the aggressor, on their mood, their opinion, and their behavior. I'll give you one of the most common gaslighting strategies. So observe yourself or those close to you. You may be able to recognize yourself or someone you know, either as abused or being an abuser. So, first tactic, the gaslighter denies facts. They love to rewrite history, to make you doubt your own memory. They distort the facts and change the details of events. The manipulator may consistently deny having said or done something, even if the evidence suggests otherwise. They might tell you, this has never happened, or you made it all up, or it's not as bad as you say it is, or can you relax, you always exaggerate. Gaslighters can be so convincing that people really start to believe their version of events, and this situation becomes quickly aggravated if you initially were quite forgetful person. Second tactic, they joke too much. The gaslighter is usually someone from a close circle. These are the people who have the greatest influence on you. They know about your vulnerabilities, your weaknesses, and your experiences, which means that if they wish, they can use it against you. So this manifests as rude jokes or inappropriate remarks, or you're given an offensive nickname. But of course, all this is disguised as a friendly banter, when in fact it's pure humiliation. Third tactic, they devalue your feelings and emotions. If you're offended by the joke, you might hear, Again, like you're too sensitive, or are you alright, you don't seem okay. Over time, you begin to believe that all your emotions and reactions are inappropriate or wrong, and you disconnect from your intuition. As a result, the gaslighter gains even more power over you. Tactic 4, they begin to suggest you need professional help for your mental health. They might say to you, "You have been very strange lately," or "You're reacting inappropriately," or "Judging by your behavior, I think you are depressed again," or "You obviously need help." All this leads to the appearance of doubt and helplessness. And this is exactly the effect that the manipulator wants to achieve. From time to time, we all need to check with other people we're making the right choices. We look for evidence of our accuracy and intelligence. But in hands of the gaslighter, your need for advice turns into an abnormal behavior. Eventually, you stop asking for anything. You go quiet, so you can avoid even more embarrassment. Tactic 5, they shift the responsibility. They look for the guilty ones around them and will always come up with an explanation for their actions. "I didn't mean it. You made me do it. You provoked me. You forced me. You own me now. I did it for you. You need to become a better partner, or mother, or sister, or friend, or child. It's your fault I have this problem now." Many statements begin with the word "you." And this is because the gaslighter is an expert at identifying perceived flaws in other person and almost never acknowledges or takes personal responsibility for the impact of their own statements or behavior. Basically, they blame you for the behavior that is their characteristic. But because by this phase your own feelings are already unimportant, you believe them. You seriously consider that they are probably right and they know better. And this process particularly unfolds quicker if their social and financial status is way above yours. So in addition, you might also hear from them, "I already started my business at your age. Why are you so behind?" Or, "I did the same thing a year ago, twice as fast and better, and you are repeating the same stupid mistakes." Tactic number 6, they are always in defense mode and deny any abuse. Because it's quite subtle, it's unlikely you'll hear all these accusations mentioned above in one day. It's very easy not to press the matter further. In the beginning of gaslighting, you notice unusual changes in the gaslighter's behavior, but you don't attach much importance to this. For example, they may say something offensive to you. Yes, you're surprised by this, but you're still confident in yourself and you see it as their rudeness or their weakness. Next level, you're being increasingly criticized by the manipulator and you feel frazzled. However, you continue to defend yourself and your point of view. You argue frantically with the gaslighter and you're constantly looking for evidence to convince them and win their approval. But eventually, you lose all your strength to fight and argue, and your sense of I begins to dissolve. They might tell you that not only they think that you're weak or sensitive, but all your friends think so too. When the truth is, your friends never said that. It's pure lie. And when you ask the gaslighter questions, they just change the subject. This not only makes you doubt yourself, but pushes you to not properly investigate. And from just being confused, you slowly drift into being overwhelmed, then disorganized, then isolated and helpless. If you've been severely gaslighted for a long time, you may develop clinical depression and anxiety disorders. So it becomes pretty hard to stand up for yourself, doesn't it? And if you do, they may accuse you of having anger or control issues, or claim that they get frustrated because you are such a complicated person. Gaslighters are not always easy to identify. They don't bruise, and as I already mentioned, they often disguise manipulation as harmless humor or constructive criticism or caring. Let's discuss this phenomenon with concrete examples. In marriage, a husband is sure that his wife is cheating on him. He notices new sexy underwear, new red lipstick, new dress. She is often late from work and she doesn't pick up her phone. When he confronts her, she replies, "You are paranoid. Instead of taking me out, you ask me stupid questions." Bottom line, he loses his ability to accurately assess what is really happening, and he begins to doubt his conclusions. He blames himself for being too suspicious and finally apologizes to her for baseless accusations. Of course, sometimes people are paranoid and jealous without reasons, but that's another issue. Here, I would like to highlight a situation when someone was not initially prone to paranoia or jealousy and didn't have low self-esteem, but someone made them think they are this inadequate person. Another example, if you think your partner is cheating on you and you even find some flirty messages on the phone, they tell you it's all in your imagination, and that kiss emoji is what friends do too. Maybe you can relate. Gaslighting by parents. Example, a boy gets an A in maths, a subject that is given to him with great difficulty. After school, he runs home to please his parents. He proudly tells his father, but all he hears, "So what? What are you so happy about? I always had only A's. You're not trying hard enough." The child starts denying his right for joy and becomes convinced of his low self-worth and grows up insecure. Gaslighting among friends. One friend regularly criticizes another about her appearance or her hobbies, interests, tastes. "I'm only telling you all this because I love you." What really happens here? A girl's self-esteem drops, but she continues to communicate with this toxic friend because this toxic friend creates this caring aura, and her rare compliments confuse her even more. If she has no other friends to counteract this, she becomes totally trapped in this toxic friendship without even realizing. Gaslighting at work. A new employee receives a task from a manager. He writes down everything that needs to be done and gets to work. When the assignment is completed, the boss tells him in front of everyone that this is wrong. He claims to have asked for something else. The employee shows the notes, but the manager just says, "Are you kidding me? How could I have asked you to do this? You didn't get it right." So maybe yes, once there can be some miscommunication. We are all humans in the end of the day. But if these remarks repeat themselves on a regular basis, the employee begins to believe that he misunderstands the words of the management. He gets confused, he feels insecure in meetings, he feels guilty and is constantly under stress, and as a result his performance drops. In addition, there are other types of gaslighting. For example, self-gaslighting, when you don't need anyone, you destroy your self-esteem by yourself. You deny and devalue your own feelings. You say to yourself, "I always exaggerate everything," or "I'm ashamed to be upset because of this," or "I'm too sensitive." Doctors gaslighting, when a doctor ignores patients' complaints, telling them it's nothing. We know many stories when people sometimes lose their lives just because of such ignorance and coldness. Racial gaslighting, when gaslighting techniques are applied to a person because of their race or ethnicity. It happened a long time ago, it doesn't matter anymore. Not everything is about race. It wasn't because of your skin color. And there is, of course, political gaslighting, when politicians refer to the mental instability of their opponents, they distort facts or hide information in order to gain control over people. Why gaslighting is dangerous? A person who has become a victim of gaslighting ceases to trust their own feelings. Their inner compass is broken, and over time, due to the actions of the manipulator, they may seriously begin to think that they are suffering from a mental disorder. Systematic gaslighting often leads to real psychological and emotional problems. Among them are increased anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. All this makes it difficult for the abused to get out of the influence of the manipulator. If you are constantly gaslighted, your self-esteem goes down. It becomes difficult for you to have a good opinion of yourself. when you're constantly being proved that this can be felt or what you feel is all nonsense. You might even develop psychosis. What's really worrying is that gaslighting can turn into physical abuse, like proper violence. Everything is done to undermine your faith in your own adequacy and independence. In severe cases, you withdraw from social contacts, you stop leaving your house, you might attempt taking your own life. How can you overcome gaslighting? The psychological pressure can last for years before you realize what is really happening. And by this time, your relationship with the gaslighter is probably codependent, which means that it's especially difficult for you to get out of them. I'd like to give you some helpful tips to deal with manipulative techniques. First, always trust your feelings. If you're upset, then you are upset. Nobody has to convince you otherwise. Remember that you know yourself much better than anyone else. And your judgment of yourself is much more accurate than the opinion of anyone else. Stay firm inside of yourself. Stick to your own version of events and facts. Maybe write them somewhere, point by point. This way you can deal with uncertainty triggered by the gaslighter. Don't show them your doubts and your fears. Stay neutral as much as you can and communicate to them what is personally acceptable to you and what is not. If it's difficult to set boundaries and they simply just don't care, or worse, they can hit you instead, you need to leave as soon as you can. Don't reply to their text messages, phone calls, or their emails. If that's impossible for now, try to be with other people as much as you can and limit your conversations with the gaslighter to essential topics, but still seek the way out. Second tip, try to get a variety of opinions. Ask other people you trust about the situation from the outside. Do you really have these problems that the gaslighter talks about all the time? Do they notice your strangeness? Record conversations if necessary, and this way you will always have evidence at hand that can be presented at the right time, and it will allow you to double-check your own words and your memories. If you are convinced and have proof that you are right, the gaslighter will not be able to control you. Third thing, ask for help. I know you probably don't feel like you have enough, especially if the gaslighting you experience is way too vague, mixed with gestures of love and compliments. This is very clearly demonstrated in Netflix series Made. If you haven't seen it, check it out. When the main character felt she wasn't significantly abused to deserve a shelter. Only those with broken arms or legs deserve it. So if you also have such thoughts, remember, the longer you are exposed to gaslighting, the more devastating the effects will be. It won't get better, believe me, unless your person goes into therapy themselves and actively confronts their own anxiety and fears and admits they have low self-worth to begin with, sort out their own doubts about themselves and life in general, and become more vulnerable and honest with you. And most importantly, stick to therapy for many months. So if you see none of that, prioritize your own needs and get out. While trying to cut all ties with an abuser, allow yourself time to heal. When you feel like you miss them, that's okay, but it doesn't mean you should go back to them. Instead, focus on your new life, on your rebirth. Find your sense of self again. Who are you? What do you really like? What do you really want? Develop a new daily routine where you take care of yourself first above anything else. Work with a psychologist or social worker who specializes on abuse. Learn some new skills, see new places. If you have children, ask for legal assistance. Eventually, you will build a new support network. You might open to others about your experiences. You might help someone else to get out sooner. So if you feel right now, what's the point? The point is to make all types of abuse our past, like burning witches and red hats is our past. When we look back at medieval times, we admit that humans were totally barbaric and ignorant. So hopefully in 10, 20, 100 years, we also look back and say that abusing others is totally cruel and unnecessary behavior. We'll be more conscious of our traits for love, not aggression. Thank you for joining me today. Please like this video, feel free to share a comment below, and subscribe to my channel if you wish to learn more about psychology, human mind, relationships, mental health, and more. I make both long videos and 50-second shorts, so there is something for everyone. You might discover yourself from a new perspective, or other people's motivations will become clearer to you. Maybe you're striving for a sense of belonging and a warm, supportive community. This channel is for you then. For now, I wish you a fantastic day. Take care of yourself. Bye.